question. Member from Lanark, Frontenac, Lennox and Addington.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question is to the Premier. Premier, since 2011, your government has known the details of the loan agreement with MaRS Phase 2, yet has never found the right time to be either open or transparent about it. In 2008, the economic recession hit Alexandria ARE, and their share value plummeted to over 60%. After 3 years of stalled development, in 2011, your government provided MaRS a $224 million loan to complete the project, as ARE could no longer meet their obligations. No financial institution was willing to back the project, with only 10% of the building pre-leased, 30 to 40% lower than industry standards. Premier, at the time of the loan, what terms of the contract between ARE and MaRS were amended to protect this risky taxpayer investment?
Question. Thank you.
Development, Employment and Infrastructure.
Minister of Economic Development, Employment and Infrastructure.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I've made it very clear, and I've said it in the legislature, I've said it in committee, I've said it outside of this legislature, that we're doing everything we can to bring forward requests for information, and anything that's not commercially sensitive will absolutely be shared. That's fair, Mr. Speaker. It's what we can do, it's what we should do, and we're happy to be transparent as possible about all of that. But the fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, this is the difference between that party and our party. Yes, MaRS is a project, a viable project, that MaRS Phase 2, that ran into some trouble during the recession. Yes, we were there, Mr. Speaker, to support them, to try to do everything we could to see this project through, unlike the PCs, Mr. Speaker, whose position quite clearly was to let that project rot in the ground. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about a sector with 51,000 high-paying jobs, a sector that contributes $39 billion to our economy. This is an important sector, Mr. Speaker. We're going to keep working to create jobs in the sector, even if the Tory.
Supplementary.
Back to the Premier, Premier, that your minister failed to answer. ARE originally took all the risk with Phase 2 by supplying both the capital and the management of the project. The only contribution from MaRS was providing the land, valued at $15 million. Understandably, ARE was in line to receive the lion's share of revenue from the leasing of MaRS 2. Up until 2011, MaRS was only due $715,000 per year from the total leasing revenue from Phase 2. When you provided MaRS a loan, what did you forget to amend in the MaRS-ARE agreement that is now costing us an additional $65 million? Or did you just forget that ARE continued to be in line for 95% of the leasing revenues from Phase 2?
Answer. Thank you. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I was available and stood for 10.5 hours in Estimates Committee and answered all the questions that the opposition had for me. So I think what's important now, Mr. Speaker, is to speak about how important MaRS is to our economy. So let me say something that neither comes from the opposition or the government, Mr. Speaker. This comes from Life Science Ontario, which is made up of the 1,600 companies, Mr. Speaker, that work in the bioscience sector. This is what they had to say, and they released this yesterday. The Government of Ontario's support of MaRS is an example of Ontario's leadership, and with leadership comes risks. Now is not the time to second-guess the commitment that our government has shown by investing in innovation, lest we rather seek to be followers and late adopters in this new global economy and live with the associated economic fallout. This bold, long-term vision is the driving force behind MaRS and has enabled the Discovery District to become an international icon for innovation. Mr. Speaker, that was the vision of Ernie Eves in the previous government. That's our vision today. We stand by it. We're going to keep creating jobs. We're going to continue to grow a strong biosciences cluster in Ontario.
Question.